comfort or bliss, just truths we strive not to dismiss. This is the Finding Gnosis show, where illusions break and deeper truths grow. Philosophy and thought light the way through the dark toward a brighter day. Not endless struggle, but a fight worth the cost, seeking the meaning we thought was lost. Pessimism asks, why even try? We answer with questions reaching the sky. A critique of the systems, the myths we hold, a reflection on truths both stark and bold. Depressive realism clears the haze, while hope takes root in critical gaze. We search for a path, no matter how steep, to find the truths that lay buried deep. This is the Finding Gnosis show, where illusions break and deeper truths grow. Philosophy and thought light the way through the dark toward a brighter day. Not endless struggle, but a fight worth the cost, seeking the meaning we thought was lost. Promise ease, we don't promise rest, but a journey to uncover what's best. In cosmic indifference we still find might, to question, to change and to ignite. Welcome to Finding Gnosis, where truth takes a stand. Together we search, together we understand. Through reflection, critique and bold exploration, we strive for meaning and revelation. The journey begins, the truths will unfold. This is the Finding Gnosis show.
Hello, guys. Yeah, welcome. Oh, we're off again. If you want to come on, the link is there in chat.
Through the cosmic indifference and through despair, we dig for meaning that might be there. No promises of comfort or bliss, just truths we strive not to dismiss. This is the Finding Gnosis show, where illusions break.
Enough of that. Hello to whoever's there. There's about 9 of you there. And I do believe D Prophet is in the house. Hello to D Prophet. And we've got King Capricornio. Hello there. We've got Zeb from Nefarious Rockers and his official band channel. He said something in the chat there. So if you want to come on here today, we're going to have a little chat, maybe, perhaps. Hello to Brother Marcus, who's just joined us as well. You can come on and just give us your opinion on free will. I mean, I'd like to hear about any of you who believe one way or the other, have an opinion on whether you have any ability to make a free choice or do things of your own accord. If you should be held liable for your actions, if you are accountable, if you have true agency, etc., etc. And I believe we have Sebastiano here already. He's landed. Hello to Seb. It's already the 20th of January where I am, so it's the fateful day. It's finally arrived. We've got Trump coming in over there. I mean, he's already doing some pre-inauguration gathering, I believe. I saw on the television for a little while earlier on this evening. But Seb, sorry to go on and on. This is not about that. This is about free will. So tell me, what the hell do you think? Do you have free will? Does anybody have
No.
free will? No. And
So
would you care
I
to
guess
elaborate on why you think that?
I guess it's what we've all heard before, right? That it's all cause and effect. Everything I do was affected by things that happened in the past that influenced my brain to behave in a certain way, and that is just influencing. That is just influencing me. It's my environment, and it's also the genes. The genes respond can induce certain responses in the cells in the body, and the things that happened before is just triggering everything. I think if somebody made a human-like machine that had some kind of cells, but there were no consciousness, like a philosophical zombie, one could see that, like if one just made some adjustments to certain things, it would act completely differently.
Yeah, I mean, I would have a tendency to agree with you there, Seb. Well explained. It certainly does seem it's there's genetic determinism, as you said. There's the deterministic forces of the environment around us impacting our genetics and our psychology, shaping our neural pathways, making us think in all. Sorry, I was just laughing at Brother Marcus. I'll go to comments in a second. I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so basically, it does seem that we the experiencer of life, are being impacted um, from the outside and the inside, from our subconscious, from the metabolic drive of our cells, calling out to each other, asking for nourishment, and driving our biology from our endocrinal secretion. It does seem there's a lot going on beneath the surface. And obviously, there's a hell of a lot going on outside of us. And we do seem to be the poor fuckers caught in between all of that without much ability to, you know, make a free choice. We're at the mercy of it all. It does
Yeah,
seem that way. It certainly seems that way. I remember when I first thought about this was when I was looking at criminal law years ago. When I was looking at some of the cases, and I was just thinking, my goodness, some of these defenses, like for example, the defense of insanity. I mean, we make this arbitrary line of when someone is insane, when they're, you know, not acting in control, rationally, etc., of themselves. Um, but it led me to question whether any of us are in control of ourselves any of the time, whether rational or not. And I did err on the side of it not being the case. You know, I looked at my own life certainly, and I saw my own psychology was shaped by my experiences, good and bad. Okay, people's perceptions of me were shaped by their own psychology, and also and my perceptions of them, their perceptions of me were often initially even animalistic, certainly from a young age. Okay, based purely on superficial reasoning, what people look like, what they spoke like, how they dressed, how they combed their hair, stupid shit that shouldn't really matter, but yet does have a terrible, terrible effect on people and shapes their position in society, shapes their well-being, because obviously if they're being looked down upon for things that aren't their fault, then their brain starts to be shaped in that mode, as I said, the neural pathways, the expectations of interactions with other people in the future come at a price, and that price is they are tied to memory of experiences of prior held or prior prior had experiences. And I'm going to go to the messages there before I ramble on. By the way, guys, sorry about this rambling. I'm trying to get all these out of the way because I said I'd do one a week, and it's already the 20th of January, and I'm only on my second stream, so we'll try and get through them. So we've got a good few of the old regulars here. Brother Marcus, as I said, is already here. Good to see him. And we've got Tanel. He says it's determined anyway whether he's going to join or not. That's true. Andrew asks, what's with the dancing owls? I mean, Andrew, I'm sorry, bro. I didn't put that much effort into things as usual. I made a little intro, okay, to the show. And if you were unfortunate enough to see yesterday's show, I forgot to link the music. Or rather, what happened was I shared a screen. I hit present screen, and unfortunately, I hadn't shared the audio. So I was hearing the music, but you guys were not. So it was meant to be a video to go with the music. The music is AI generated, okay? I did do the lyrics, but it's AI generated music. Unfortunately, Sebastian wasn't around this time to make a theme tune, and I'm not that musically gifted. I mean, I could pluck a few strings on the ukulele, but I'm quite atrocious, really. And as for the owls, well, I quite like them. Should I be ashamed of picking owls? I mean, what the hell? What is the problem with owls? Is it because they're not koala bears? Is that the problem? I don't know. The prophet has a special salutation for Brother Marcus. He says, "Good tidings, Marcus. I hope everything is blessed." And this is what I was laughing at earlier because Brother Marcus retorted to Andrew, "Why all the black? Why all the pearls? Why all the hair? Why anything?" And I do concur. I agree. Why anything? And that is the whole point of this show. Why anything? Sippus Ignitus says, I remember in The Matrix Reloaded, that French guy said choice is an illusion created by those with power and given to those without, or something like that. Yes. And yeah, that's one of the views I have on there not being free will, because obviously the world we're in, it does benefit those who have power, and obviously they got that power deterministically. And one of the I suppose one of the things they like to do is keep others away from their power. You could say they are deterministically compelled to do that by their psychology, biology, or whatever you want to say. But I suppose an easy way of doing that is to blame others for their actions. So we can say it's your fault you're poor, it's your fault you're disabled, it's your fault you're mentally ill, it's your fault you're a drug addict, it's your fault you haven't got a job, you know. Whereas in actual fact, it's the universe. It's the universe's fault. It's this deterministic reality's fault. And if you were an evil genius at the top of the hierarchy and you wanted to stay that way, well, I suppose it would be, you know, it would be a good way to carry out affairs, wouldn't it? To blame people for who they were, what they did, and to lock them up, to throw away the key, etc., to keep them down, but also kind of to create the illusion or to create the myth that you are special, that you did something, you got what you deserve because you worked hard, and you pulled yourself up from from the ground and made something of yourself, and it wasn't because the universe deterministically put you on the throne. It was because you did it all yourself, making free choices, and it makes you a spectacular human being who should be worshipped, and people should bow down to you, etc., and genuflect at you when they see you on the street. So there's a lot of reasons why I suppose people like to say, or the powers that be like to say, there is free will. But unfortunately, it doesn't appear that there is. I think we're being duped. I don't know how that makes anybody feel, by the way. Does anybody else feel duped? Does anybody else feel disappointed that there's no free will?
Yeah,
Or
I think so.
if you believe there is free will, please come on here and let me know why. Sorry, sir, what did you say?
Yeah, so I think I like your point that the lack of free will could take away the pride from someone's accomplishments. If one imagines an underdog who overcomes great adversity despite all odds, what if at the end of their arduous journey. They just realized that it was just happenstance, that it was like that. It wasn't like because they were special. So the way I see it, when it comes to a lot of pessimistic thoughts, it takes away from the pleasures of life a lot of the time, and it gives very little back. Fortunately, uh,
Mm.
the illusion of free will is so strong that it overrides
No.
the belief in determinism.
Hmm. By the way, guys, I'm making extra strong, hard efforts to kind of control my undiagnosed ADHD. I believe I've got acquired ADHD. I didn't have ADHD as a youngster, as a teenager. I don't think I had it in my 20s. I think it probably showed in my late 20s. This kind of um, I suppose inability to fucking sit still, inability to do things that need to be done. I mean, I remember when I had a this landscape and construction business I had for about 5 years. I remember the invoices used to pile up, and it was in my interest to get fucking paid. But I just couldn't sit down and fucking put addresses on a piece of paper. I mean, how stupid is that? But I think that was when I started having the problems, I suppose, with concentration on matters that it's insane not to concentrate on because it's in your welfare too. So bear with me. My brain is obviously falling apart, and it wasn't always like that. I have to say, it wasn't always that bad, but it is what it is, and I appreciate your patience. And I am going to try extra hard this time to not butt in. And if I do butt in, don't be frightened, people. Don't be frightened to tell me to shut up. No offense will be taken. It's in my own interest to try and be more sociable and to be more aware of my effect on others. We've got Isaac Spiritman here. Isaac, you have been here before, Mr. Spiritman. I do remember you. You look very funky. You look like you're out in the woods there. I don't know, man, but you look like you're in in one of those huts in the woods somewhere, hiding
Yeah,
out from Donald Trump, no doubt. So,
yeah. I'm just kidding.
what is going on, Isaac? You can give us a brief introduction if you want, but also it'd be nice to hear you tell us about your opinion on whether there's free will or not.
Yeah, that's what sparked me. I guess I'll just throw it down. I'm Isaac, and I like to think. So, does free will exist? I don't know. When I look at free will, I look at a direction of a higher order. So, like, for example, if I'm in the snow and I'm like I'm walking without snowshoes, but someone told me, hey, to trek through there, you're gonna need snowshoes, right? So, like, free will, you could choose either one. But true free will, in my opinion, would be like listening to God and following obey God's commandments is true free will, because then you have freedom. Like, it sounds weird, right? It's like, oh, you're listening to rules, but you found freedom in those rules. Like, but when I hear God speak about what we're supposed to do, I think it's for our best interest. So, like, if you don't listen to God, you're listening to the other master. There's only two masters, right? There's Satan, or there's the evil, and then there's good master. What, like, I don't want to get into his names, but because you go Lucifer,
Okay.
Satan, all that. But
Uh,
so, like, in my opinion, true free will would be to listen to God, and then not to have free will would be to listen to Satan, because then you don't have free will. You're a slave to sin. You're a slave to Satan.
okay. Well, Isaac, do you know what? It's funny because I wasn't even thinking about religion or spirituality when I brought up this topic. But
Oh, wow.
obviously, yeah, it's a
Wow.
very important part of religion is the fact that God gives people commandments in the Abrahamic religions anyway, and you are beholden to those, and if you err from them, you will be punished, and you're given these people believe that you're
Yes.
given the ability to choose between good and bad.
Yes.
But Isaac, I'm not especially enamored with, I mean, the word of God, if I'm honest,
That's it.
unfortunately,
That's all right.
because I think words are a huge problem. I think that first of all, I think it's intellectual elitism um, to say that a person is let's just say analyzed by God on the basis of their ability to understand words. Okay, so it seems what about people who can't understand the commandments, for example? What about if you've got an intellectual impairment and you don't know
Yeah,
uh, the
I would say that's
intellectual
where
kind of
our understanding comes into play, where in certain circumstances people's free will isn't fully there, right? Like say they're
yeah. So
born with a mental disability, right, and they can't understand God. I don't know. I believe in a power that understands on a personal level everyone, that would be able to judge accordingly on a very positive manner.
okay, so do you think? Let me ask you this question. You're a Christian, right?
I would say that I follow Yeshua more than anything. I don't know that I'm a
Is
religious.
that
I'm
the
not
Old Testament
religious.
God?
Yeshua is the name of Jesus when he was born. Uh, so he says to honor his name. He says there's power in my name. So I choose to use his real name, Yeshua.
Okay, now the question is, do you get one life here on this planet Earth as a human
I'm not
being? Does God
sure.
give you one? Does God give you one chance, Isaac, to do something, to go
I
to
would
heaven or
assume
hell?
no. I would assume no, and I would also say I've dreamt dreaming of reincarnation like 8 times. So
Hmm.
I can't tell you yes or no. I don't know. But I would say through my experience, I have reincarnated before from my dreams.
Yeah, because one of my problems with the whole well, I was raised a Catholic. One of my problems was that apparently we only had one chance to go to heaven or hell, and for example, if you were born with an inability to think about matters, when I was a youngster, I said, "Well, what happens to these people?" And they would say, "Oh, well, they're going to heaven." Yeah. So I found, although they kind of look like they might seem cursed in life, in the material realm, because they suffered a lot physically or mentally or whatever it is. People say, "Oh, they'll be in heaven," and then little me was thinking, "Well, wouldn't it be better to be completely, disabled to the point where you didn't know what was going on? Wouldn't that be the best thing to be born?" And if that is the case, isn't it unfair then that God gives some people a kind of free pass by giving them a terrible affliction that means they can't understand
Yeah.
this reality, and then they go to heaven? So he gives them a pass, okay?
Yeah.
Whereas other people who can think
On
about
some
it,
level,
they have a
on
big
some level, I see.
they have a
On some
bigger
level, I see
burden.
what
So the
you're
more you can
saying.
think about, yeah, the more you can think about it. I'm just saying, the more you think about it, the bigger your burden.
Yeah.
Okay,
So like,
uh, which
okay,
which
you. I would take it.
can I just finish my point, Isaac?
I
My
thought you
point
finished.
is,
My bad. I
sorry,
have
brother.
ADD too.
If there is only one life, yeah, here, it seems wholly unfair, okay, that some people will be given the burden of thinking about matters extremely deeply to the point where it kind of discombobulates them, even makes them go insane. And other people will just sit there going, blah, 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 and will go to heaven. By the way, this isn't a disableist rant. I'm pretty much fucking disabled most of the time, mentally anyway. And,
Yeah.
so whatever. But unfortunately, I can think. So therefore, for me, I think if there is a God, He's testing me. But as I say, I don't know if there is a God. But this is the whole point of this channel. Chickpea the Torty, you're on camera. Do you want to stay on camera when I let you on? You can put your thumbs up if you're okay. Yeah, you want the camera off or on? There's someone waiting backstage. I don't want to put someone on if they don't want to be on. Okay, so I'll let them on. I'm going to let them on then. Okay. Hello, Chickpea. Great to see you. Great to see you, Chickpea. Can you hear us? We can't hear you, Chickpea. You might have to click allow your microphone access in your browser, okay? Or unmute yourself, perhaps. You might be muted at the bottom of the screen there. There might be your microphone might be muted.
Usually it shows an
I'll
icon.
allow you to try. Yeah, but okay. Sorry, Isaac. While Chickpea is trying to figure that out, Chickpea, feel free to leave and come back. Isaac, would you like to make the point before I rudely interrupted?
No. If you could wrap it up with a question, you might get my brain sparking better.
Well, I think, yeah. I mean, I think this wraps up. Sorry, I have no idea what language that username is. Is it what the hell is that? Is that like Greek or fucking what the fuck is that? Some Eastern fucking anyway, it's some Eastern attempt at writing. Anyway, yes, shouldn't it be fair playing field if there's a test with such high stakes and only one chance to achieve such salvation? I would wholeheartedly agree with that. That's why, I don't think the Christian narrative makes any sense, or the
Yeah.
Islamic one,
So,
for that matter.
does your
I
narrative
did look into this.
follow? Huh?
I did look into it, and apparently the Jews believe in reincarnation. That's not very often stated, but apparently they believe you keep coming back here until the Messiah comes. But also the Christian Gnostics believed in reincarnation. Obviously, we've got the Buddhists and the Hindus, and there's a whole load of New Age spiritual religions that believe in reincarnation. And I'm sure there's religious people who have spiritual beliefs in reincarnation as well. But anyway, Isaac, I'll shut up. So go ahead.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure where to
The
begin.
question is, okay. Let's go back to what you just said. You said you had an experience whereby you think you were reincarnated.
Well, yeah, I've had like 5, 6, 7 dreams of reincarnation where they were like I would die from a nuke, and the nuke would go off. I'd see a bright white light in the sky, and then I'd wake up in a younger body in high school. Right? Pretty weird. And we live in a town that's #1 for nukes when the World War II scare hit, because for some reason our base was on the central coast of California, and they were the #1 target right across the ocean. And I've died from war in my town, like war. We got invaded, and it was a military town back in the day. Not anymore, apparently, but they still operate the base. But so I've died from a nuke in this town, and I've died from being invaded with a gunshot in the back of my head, and I have a scar on the top of my head where I got shot. And I had a dream. I woke up in another world. It's weird. I don't know. I'm just
So hold on a second. In the dream, you had a
agnostic.
scar, or you actually have a scar now where you got
I
shot in a
do. I have a
previous life,
scar on a perfect circle on the top of my head.
but you didn't get shot in this life. You got shot in another life. Is that what
Yeah.
you're saying? A little bit of trivia for you. I've been shot twice in this life, just so you know. I was standing outside a friend's house once, and I was smoking a cigarette. This is a few years back, because I smoked, basically smoked. I was a naughty boy, and someone was shooting crows, and they ended up shooting me in the head with the pellets from their shotgun. And another time, I was again. This is before I was vegan, so strike me down and all that. But I was about 19 or something in Cyprus horse riding, and these bloody this was clay pigeon shooting. Someone shot me because I went along the back but it wasn't a trekking trail, so I should have been safe, but I got hit in the leg then. So third time lucky. I'm kind of bound to be shot, aren't I? I'm going to get shot again, I know. But Isaac, that is quite unusual, but people do say that basically if you die in a certain way in a past life, you end up getting a birthmark or some kind of you know something on you
Yeah.
in this life as a
Yeah.
kind of symbolism of it. You
I got
know,
another weird story like that.
you don't have any birthmarks on your testicles. I mean, that would be worrying, wouldn't it?
No,
You
I have
probably would
another
have
story
died from.
that's kind
Yeah,
of
sorry.
weird. I was born with the birthmark. You can't see it because I have a mustache, but I have a perfect diagonal line on my lip where that little crease, that little cavern is, that little like crevice. I have a perfect diagonal line. And then my cousin, who was my best friend, we're like quantumly entangled. He's in the Air Force, but and my grandparents were all in the Air Force, but and he fell out of the car one day from a dog. A dog jumped in during a tornado because it was freaked out during a tornado, like, and I could feel all the energy as a kid, like a nightmare, like. Oh, I can feel the energy of the tornado. I can feel the energy of the dog. It jumps in the car, knocks him out. He gets the same exact scar, and we have matching scars, perfectly matching.
That's some freaky shit. Now,
And it's
you
the
mentioned
same
something there
diagonal,
about.
and it's in the same direction. Like it's a diagonal line.
You mentioned something there, Isaac. Quantum entanglement. Now that
Yes.
shit is fucking bamboozling.
Yes.
And you said you think you're quantum entangled.
To my
You're
cousin.
connected to your friend, to your cousin. All right.
Yeah, for second cousin.
Um,
Second.
JM says this is total batshittery. Well, thank you, and you're welcome.
Yes.
And
Hey,
yeah, so
when
can you
we
explain
drive
how
down the
that?
highway, we like to go batshit 80. So
Okay. Can you explain how that shows itself, Isaac, in this life? Your quantum entanglement to your cousin. And that was Russian. Thank you to Marcus for pointing that out, brother Marcus. That font earlier. Sorry, Isaac. So tell us about your quantum entanglement to your cousin.
So I have one weird story. The weirdest story I have with the entanglement with my cousin is supernatural experience. No, I had two supernatural experiences with him. One was we were smoking weed, and we were both meditating and not speaking out loud. We were just thinking, and we both looked up to the sky at the same time, and in the shape of the clouds and two perfect stars in the eyes was a perfect shape of a lion. We both looked at each other silently, and then we both got up and we started dancing, like jumping around out of like energy. We got energy, like something happened where we got spoken to by God or something. And then the other time I was driving I was driving down the street to his house in the middle of the country by a chicken coop, and I saw a black gen werewolf standing on all fours, a werewolf standing on all fours, about 4 feet, 5 feet tall, on all fours, and it had glowing green eyes. I get to my cousin's house down the street about a mile and a half, and I was gonna tell him. I'm like, hey, I was about to tell him. This is the first thing I'm gonna tell him, right? And hey, I get to his house and he goes, hey, dude, I just saw a werewolf, like a black wolf looking thing, in my backyard, and I looked at it and it teleported away. And I was like, bro, the first thing I was gonna tell you when I got to your house is I saw a black werewolf looking ass thing with glowing green eyes, and it teleported away when I looked at it. We both had the
Okay,
experience.
Isaac, listen. I'm not going to say you didn't see that. Okay. This is a very strange reality, and other people will say you're a schizophrenic, or you were on drugs, or you're making it up.
I was sober. Yeah,
But
I was sober.
yeah. Listen, bro. I mean, it's a very, very strange reality. So I'm not going to say you didn't see that shit. We got
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you.
we got Tanal here. Tanal, it's fantastic to have you with us again.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
I can, loud and clear. And you know what? It's a pleasure to hear your voice. It's been so long. How have you been?
I can't say I've been good.
Yes, I'm sorry. You did tell me you had some bad news, brother. You don't have to say it on here, but it's up to you. I mean, you're welcome to. But I was very sorry to hear about that, and I hope things improve for you.
Thank you very much. And you?
Yes, I'm doing okay, thank you at the moment. As usual, the up and downs of life, the relentless peaks and troughs keep coming at me wave after wave. And I'm not getting any younger, so that doesn't help. So sometimes I lose hope, and other times I'm full of it. So it is what it is. I just keep rolling with the punches, as they say. But to now, let's talk about free will, brother. What do you think? Is there any free will in this realm?
I don't know. Because my logic says that this reality is determined. But quantum physics might think otherwise. I don't know.
But then in quantum physics, they would say it would be like random or something.
I don't know too much about quantum physics either, but I know the particles are not determined as we might think.
Yes, but I mean, have you heard that fluctuations at a quantum level? I mean, they don't really like have much effect on the macro level, do they? I mean, they do have an effect on it, but if you can't control what's happening at a quantum level, why would you take that into consideration for free will?
Yeah, that's a good point. It yeah, I guess if I mean it could also be predicted, but we just don't have the tools to do so.
I mean, there's a lot of evidence. I mean, Sam Harris has spoken about it. He's got a nice little book on it. It's only about 60 pages. I flicked through it before, but there's a lot of, there's evidence to suggest that, our decisions are made. I think it's like 15 seconds in some cases before that they even come to fruition in the front of our minds. Parts of the brain that are key to decision making are lighting up well before we're aware of it. How does that make you feel?
Some people has cried after doing these tests, where they've taken the tests with the brain scans and that's shown that uh,
Mm.
a lot of everything one does has to pass through the subconscious mind, and people are able to reason very quickly, and if they had to, if it all had to pass through the conscious mind, then that would be very strenuous and difficult.
Right. So now, can you give us a kind of like what do you think in terms of punishment then for like prisoners? Do you think it's fair to punish people when we don't know if there's free will or not? For example, do you think it's fair to execute someone? Do you think capital punishment is okay, given that? Say, for example, if it was 100% obvious that someone committed a crime, okay, is it okay to punish them and treat them harshly, or even, kill them, execute them, given that we don't know if free will is real?
Can
I know
I
we have to
actually
pretend that we have free will.
Why
But
do we have to pretend to know? I mean, I know the arguments because some people say we can't behave morally if we won't behave very well if we think we're not responsible for our actions. But why do you think we have to pretend that there's free will?
because actions do have consequences, but they should not be too capital, too harsh, I guess. Maybe very debilitating punishments are not justified, but some punishments probably are.
Right. I mean, part of me thinks, yeah, put them against the wall and shoot them, for example, in some circumstances. But the other part of me thinks, well, if nobody chose who they are, and who they are is basically just this kind of biological robot just going through the motions and doing what it does because of internal drives and reactions to an external stimulus that are beyond the agency or control of the person experiencing them. Um, it seems that probably the better thing to do would just be to lock them up, but maybe not necessarily treat them harshly. You know what I mean? You can lock them away, but you don't have to like give them just like bread and water for the rest of their days or torture them or anything. You know what I mean?
uh,
Maybe the kind of Scandinavian, Norwegian prisons or Danish prisons are the best kind of way to do it. Like, they give them a PlayStation and a nice mattress. I mean, I don't know. It's a obviously I'm compelled. I feel strongly about certain crimes. I think they're terrible. But then part of me thinks, well, if there's no free will, are we also monsters to like punish people who are victims of being, you know, kind of brought into this existence and being fated to be monsters? I mean, it's not their fault, I suppose, is what I'm saying. Even though we point at them, we hate them, etc., etc. It's not their fault. But saying all that, it doesn't feel. I don't feel comfortable saying that. You know what I mean? It's a strange place to be in terms of thought. But I think if we are grown up about it, we have to realize that people don't choose who they are. Nobody in their right mind would choose to be a monster, for example. And if they are monsters, well, they should be taken out of society. But if there isn't any free will, perhaps we shouldn't, torture them or punish them too harshly. Perhaps we shouldn't, kill them. Perhaps we should just lock them up in a place where they can live out their days, but not in too much discomfort. Although that's not going to make the other people very happy. Everybody is baying for blood in these circumstances. They want punishment. And why do you think that is, Tanel? Why do you think people want punishment so much? I mean, I understand it personally. You want retribution. You want vengeance. But what do you think, Tanel? Or what do you think of the criminal system? What do you think of crime and punishment and free will?
They desire justice. Yeah, I can understand that.
Okay. So the person with the Russian name says, yes, if free will is in doubt, then that makes sense to me. Those biological machines are compromised, so the rest of society ought to be insulated from them. But to kill, not morally justified. Yeah. And morality itself is an interesting idea, isn't it, in a deterministic universe?
Yeah,
but certainly some things definitely seem better than others, don't they? So I suppose morality exists in a different kind of way, in my view. It's like it's not that you as an individual are a free agent to make moral choices. It's just that I suppose in terms of outcomes, there are better outcomes, even if they are deterministic. And as a society, hopefully we have the ability to, chaperone and guide society or individuals in society towards the better outcomes. But just as individuals lack free will, society itself is deterministically shaped as well. So I don't know what to say.
You mentioned.
Does anybody else want to come on here, by the way? Anybody else want to come on? Please do. The link is there. Sorry, Seb.
You mentioned many great points that there's an ambivalence, even though one might have recognized that there is no free will. One would still have hatred for people, since one is like a human. Anger towards others is a core feature of being human, which is very hard to shake off. And the determinism can foster a deeper understanding of the struggles that people have gone through, and it can bring forth sympathy for others when others feels like they don't deserve it. But it can also bring about some awkward moments. One might want to defend people or treat people with respect if someone has done something mean or bad to others.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
one
true.
thinks about determinism and one doesn't treat them harshly, but that could also upset others too.
Yeah, that's true. Now, so on the face of it, prima facie, as they say, do you think it seems that there isn't free will? I mean, prior to quantum physics and that, prior to our, looking in at that, do you think it's kind of obvious, or we should have said there wasn't free will? Like, we shouldn't have even questioned it for the last, say, 200 years, should we? I mean, it seems kind of obvious that given the information we had prior to, like, quantum physics, there was no question of anything causing things to be except for our circumstances, right? I mean, it's not us in control, is what I'm trying to say. It looked like certainly the knowledge we had was showing that we weren't in control. It was our circumstances in life that were shaping us and making us do what we do and think what we think. So why is it that as a society we held on to the belief in free will for so long?
I don't know. It's a mind fuck because I'm agnostic. I don't know what to believe. There's so much contradictory information.
Yeah.
I'd
Brother
say
Marcus
that
says existence is already a prison. Am I right? And yes, he seems to be right, unfortunately. But it's a
uh,
weird kind of prison because usually when people go to prison, they kind of know what they're convicted of. You know, we seem to be in a prison without any possibility of parole, with a guaranteed death sentence, and without any knowledge of any cosmic crime being committed by us to deserve the punishment that is being received by us. So it seems like the cruelest of prisons in existence. Uh, and ironically, that is existence. So, brother Marcus, we would like to have you here, brother, talking because this man is obviously the brainiac on the firm. So it'd be good to have him on here, giving us his philosophical musings. And we've got Amir here. We've got JM who says they blame religion. Unit agrees with brother Marcus, and Chick P the Torty says the universe decides you must live, and you will live whether you want to or not. Okay. So there are seats here. I mean, I think there's a few more spaces. I mean, this is the paid for version, so I don't know. I think we can have a good few on this. Maybe even 10. But we'll see. See how many turn up. But it
What
is
if the
nice that.
prisoner has a terminal illness? Then his or her body will torture them to death either way.
um,
Can you say that again, 10 now? Sorry.
I
by the
mean,
way, I
it,
noticed you've asked Tanel, so I've been sort of excluded from the chat. So if I
Oh,
can't speak, I
Seb.
leave.
Sorry, Seb.
No,
No, because you
just
did
because
talk.
it's
Thank you
first
for
of
asserting
all,
yourself. No,
don't
you have every right
assume
to assert
an
yourself.
emotion I have. Don't
That's fine, brother.
assume I have a
You're right to
specific
assert yourself.
emotion.
You're right to assert yourself, Seb. I'll let you talk in a second after Tanel now. You're right.
No,
Thank
it's
you.
just for practical use. Like if you don't want to talk, I'm off.
No, I do want to talk to you, Seb. Just knuckle down for a second and I'll come to you, okay? So now, what were you saying there? And then Seb can give his part.
I mean, if we put a person in prison and you said we'll let them live their days out or something, if they get a terminal illness or something, and they won't have the right to die, then their own body will be torturing them to death. So it's still kind of a punishment, is it?
Yes, but I suppose that's a punishment imposed by nature rather than society, or at least that's how the judiciary system will see it. But Seb, what did you want to say?
Yeah, what I wanted to say is that when I think about this sort of thing, I like to think about the contradictory values people have. They believe that humans should be should have to suffer for doing their wrong deeds. But when an animal does the same thing, such as a bear or a hyena, then they just take them out of their misery as quickly as possible. It seems like the explanation for this is how selection pressure made humans hate other human beings more, since humans have been the biggest threats to humans in like the course of human history and prehistory. So it's and that is what shaped the idea of free will. It's just selection pressure which enable the illusion due to the utility of it furthering the prosperity of the species.
You've dived in very deep there, Seb, and I do actually agree with you. It's this illusion of free will and the belief in it. You think there's a selection bias for evolutionarily speaking. You think it's in. You think basically those who believe in free will are selected for from an evolutionary perspective. Because if you don't believe in free will, you'll probably go insane. Is that right? And you'll you'll start jibber jabbering in the corner and question existence and having a. I say you'll probably have an existential crisis, and you probably won't be invited to many parties because you'll be talking like me. Is that right?
Uh,
Yep.
yeah, I guess I would put it a little nicer than that, but that's right. Uh,
That's a very good
so,
point.
so when it,
I
I've said this,
I like
I've
that
said
point.
this on the
So
previous stream that when it comes that pessimism or a depressive realism is not the best base for existence. Just like
it's not the.
yeah, that's
I would have a tendency to agree with you. They're very well made points. They're one of the best points tonight. Thank you. We have Colin says self-exit is the only. So they say we have free will to exit this place. I mean, I don't think that's true either. I think that's a deterministic thing as well. Whether you do that or not, because some people have the constitution to do that. Some people don't, through no fault of their own. Some people feel pressurized to do that. Some people don't. Some people have fear and anxiety about it. Some people don't. So I think it's all still part of the illusion of free will there. Charlene, I think you're wrong there, but thank you for trying. And do come on and make the argument otherwise if you want to. But yeah, anybody else want to come on here, please feel free to do so. We'll go to Tanel then. We'll take it in turns. But Tanel, did you want to add anything else about free will, seeing as we're still talking about it? Wait, Tanel, I'll tell you what, I'll ask you a question. Before I do that, D Prophet makes the observation here. Why does D&W sound like he's broadcasting from the back rooms? Because I am D Prophet. I got lost in the back rooms in 1992, and I haven't been able to find my way out. But it has given me time to introspect and think about matters. So yeah, that's what I'm doing beneath these fluorescent lights and ceiling tiles, and on top of these rather grotty carpet tiles. I'm talking about what I've learned from my solitude in the back rooms. But well done for spotting that. Tanel, when did you first begin to question free will? Did you do it kind of like me? I did it before I knew about like determinism. I remember like kind of just going, what the fuck is the point of this existence if everything is so obvious? As in, like, I don't know why, but it frustrated me personally that I could see why people were behaving the way they were, and it just seemed so fucking obvious, you know. And I found that kind of frustrating. I suppose it's because as a child I'd been led down the merry path of thinking there was something magical about this realm, and that people had some kind of intrinsic ability to rise from the ashes and do what they want. But it seemed to me from a young age that people were just doing what they did because of whatever it was that allowed them to flourish or confined them in a position of not being able to flourish. And I found that very, very disheartening, and I found it strange, and I think I found it personally demoralizing and depressing, actually, in my view, that we weren't all on an even playing field. That clearly some people had won the lottery and were fortuitous in their many abilities, and others not so much. In fact, the complete opposite. and I found that quite sad. And that was, I suppose, I was about 13 or so when I started looking around me and thinking, I can see patterns here in people. I can see these guys over here remind me of the guys in my previous school, you know, uh, and the groups are all forming in a similar manner, you know. There's a hierarchy here. There's a jock at the top. There's a little joker. There's a jester. There's a bully. There's a nerd over there. There's this and that, and it just seemed like everybody was just forming their groups, and you know, it all just seemed that people were put into like pigeonholed into positions in society, and they didn't really have much say about it. And I found that quite upsetting, really, I suppose. What about you, Tanel? When did you start questioning the nature of this reality? And even if you didn't know the word, when did you start seeing like the deterministic side to it?
I think when I was a teenager, I was thinking about this chain of causation. Like we can't change the tiniest thing in the chain of causation without changing the whole outcome of the present and the future unrecognizably. Like, for example, who wins the lottery, which two cells meet to create another person, traffic accidents, the vehicles would not be at the same place at the same time. Who lives or dies would be completely different. And
Right.
yeah, I used to be a materialist, I guess. I thought about this reality as being created by atoms and molecules, and I was thinking there's only one way how the atoms and molecules can move.
That's very interesting. Guys, when you're not talking, can you mute yourself? Because apparently we've got some kind of background noise, and it's annoying people with heightened sensory issues. So, yeah, we've got to be mindful of people listening. So I've just muted you. But if you want to talk, just unmute yourself, yeah? Tanel, just going back on that, and then we'll go to Seb with the same question. Tanel, how did that make you feel then, personally, when you saw that, when you started seeing that there was all these little things happening to people, and you know, it was like this kind of like dominoes falling over, and if it had happened any other way, there would have been somebody else, for example, or they would have been in a completely different scenario, having completely different thoughts, doing completely different things. They would have married someone else, for example. They would have had, and then they would have had someone else as their kid, and blah 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 blah. And like how did that make you feel when you realized it was like deterministic? Chanel first, and then we'll go to Steph with the same question.
I'm not sure. I was just confused because I've tried to talk about this with some of my friends, and they seem to completely miss the point. They don't even understand the chain of causation. They seem to be pretty sure that we could have done things differently in the past without changing the whole present and future unrecognizably. They think we can just we could have done something differently. We could have gone out the door 10 seconds or 5 minutes later, and everything else would have stayed the same. And I was confused about that. Most people don't even seem to realize how the chain of causation, how everything is interconnected, and it's impossible
Did
to
it
change the
upset you?
timing.
Did it depress you? Did it upset you? Did it depress you? That's what I was asking. Kind of. Did it make you feel perturbed in any way?
Uh, I don't think upset or depressed, but I was frustrated and confused
Hmm.
because it seemed so logical to me. And if you don't get confirmation from other people, then you get confused. Like, am I the crazy one?
Hmm. Hmm. You just, guys, someone in the comments, remember the word empathy, because I want to mention that what my feelings are in regards to free will, and it is to do with empathy. But Tanel, there's something majorly wrong with your microphone, brother. When you're talking, it's doing this weird buzzing sound. So I don't know if you want to change your microphone or whatever, or use go on speaker or something, because it's kind of like a bit fucked up, to be honest with you. But we do love having you here. We don't want you to go, so we will put up with it. But if you have a different microphone, I mean, you're a sound engineer. You should be able to sort it out. So if you could, that would be great. If you can't, you can stay anyway. It's fine. I mean, we'll put up with it. but obviously, if you can do something, please do.
Did it change? Was it like this all the time, or did it happen recently?
I mean, guys, in the comments, whose microphone is the most fucked up tonight? Can you tell us? We're just waiting for them to get back to us. Seb, 2 questions for you then, brother. You're muted, so you have to unmute yourself. Seb, when did you first in your life start thinking that even if, as I said, even if you didn't know the term determinism or hard determinism, when did you first start thinking thoughts kind of aligned with what you now understand to be hard determinism? When did you start thinking that things seem to be, you know, destined or fated to be what they are, and there doesn't seem to be a way out of what is, one way or another? When did you start thinking like that, Seb? What age were you, and how did it make you feel at the time and since?
What age I was, I think I might have been like 17 or 18 or something. I'm not really sure. It was a long time ago. I was aware of the whole antinatalist thing going on, the movement going on, and I guess a lot of people, and people like that just tend to think about there being no free will, right? And I agreed with the argument that if one could predict like matter in the universe and how they respond to that different forces, then if one just knew all the information, one could just predict what would happen, and like everything on those is due to stuff that has happened before, stuff like that. So it made sense to me. Like I got it right away. It felt like, and uh,
That's interesting, Seb. So you didn't think about determinism, basically. You didn't think about there possibly not being free will until you started interacting with pessimists and antinatalists online when you were very young, by the way, 17, 18. So
yeah, I
prior to
think
that,
so.
you hadn't, this isn't a thought that you'd entertained or had. Is that right?
And now,
Just going from that then, how did that make you feel then when you started questioning the kind of agency that you had, when you started thinking that perhaps the universe was
uh,
conspiring against us, there's nothing we could do about it?
I think the illusion of free will is just so strong that it just doesn't matter, that one won't be
That's interesting.
affected by it too much.
All right, Seb. Well, thank you for that. I'm
But
going
at
to let
least me,
Chickpea. Sorry. Oh no, we can't hear you again, Chickpea. You're muted. Sorry, Seb. You're muted, buddy. Seb, keep talking while Chickpea tries to talk out her microphone. Seb, go ahead, mate.
yeah, I just figured the illusion of free will is so strong that even though can agree with determinism, it sure doesn't feel like things are determined, which might or probably is a good thing anyway. I guess that's what that makes determinism not have such a crushing weight compared to other philosophical doctrines.
Well, personally, I think determinism, for me anyway, from my perspective, is one of the most tragic things about reality because um, it, it, I think when I started viewing existence through the lens that, you know, it's deterministic, I'll come back to Marx's comment in a sec. I think when I started viewing existence as deterministic and people not having free will, it made me have numerous emotions. And one of them was, as I said, I found it quite frustrating and sad that there wasn't this egalitarian kind of level playing field, okay? And that, you know, once you were born into a position, you were fated to be who you are. And that was that. Okay, some people are lucky, some people are unlucky. In fact, most people are unlucky, let's be honest. Um, And from that, then I became a bit, I suppose I would say, embarrassed about how I'd been so judgmental the past of others. Okay, how my own family were still are judgmental of others. I mean, they don't question this shit. And by family, I mean parents and extended family. Um, and just generally the society that I grew up in. I mean, I was fucking indoctrinated by the Catholic Church. I mean, it was full of moralizing. It was full of saying you're going to fucking hell, and blaming you for this and that. And I was also around a lot of kind of patriotic people and people who believed in flag waving, and there was a lot of kind of toxic kind of people call it toxic masculinity, or they might even call it "Make America Great Again." But it was a lot of people who believed that certain people were better than others. And I was raised around that, and just when I found out about there not being free will, it made me think, well, fucking hold on a second, what the fuck is that? Is anyone better than anybody when nobody is to blame for who they are? And I suppose it opened up it opened up an intellectual empathy. I had a feeling empathy in the past, but this is more an intellectualized empathy where I just thought I was an idiot for like really judging people, too harshly, because clearly they're not in control of matters. And by this, I'm not just talking about criminals. I'm talking about someone who disappointed me, for example, or someone I thought could have done better. I mean, it just seems to me that nobody is in control, really, ultimately. Obviously, we all have potential, but I can't say what other people's potential is. Okay, so who am I to judge them? Okay, I can't say, listen, I'm not going to judge anybody too harshly. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to shut up now. Chickpea, are you back with us? Are you able to talk? We've never heard Chickpea's voice on this stream. We see her lovely visage here, and we can see your lovely hair and lovely glasses there, and your smile, lovely. But we can't hear you, Chickpea, which is a very great shame. She's not even that far from me. She's in the East End, apparently, of London. But I can't hear her. So that's that. Chickpea, you're going to have to come back or talk to your neighbor or do something. But anyway. So Brother Marcus brings up the pertinent point, because I did mention antinatalism, or Zeb did. And he says, D&W is no longer an antinatalist because of his views on determinism. Is that right? That is not right. I did say I was going to reply to Wacky Conundrum. But actually what I said was initially someone could be an antinatalist, but not from a kind of moral perspective. As in, like, they're not... they could view existence as bad, and it being bad that people are brought into existence, but it's not like a moral position. So it's not like holding people morally accountable for their actions, or blaming people, or saying someone is doing something bad because they're a bad person, etc. It's like recognizing, that people aren't in control of it, of this existence, and this existence imposes life on us. Because of its deterministic nature, and that in and of itself is bad, and I can be opposed to something that is bad, okay, de facto bad, because it causes suffering and death, and maybe it doesn't cause suffering and death for everybody, but it does cause it for some people. And from a utilitarian perspective, I can say that, I don't believe that one Madeleine McCann is worth 8 billion smiling people, for example. So from a personal perspective, I was saying you could come to it from a deterministic perspective without getting too hoity-toity about morality, Brother Marcus, if that made any sense. I did try to explain it when I've replied to Wacky Conundrum when he asked me. But I know that's so basically you can view birth in a negative light. You can say you can be opposed to birth, but not be opposed to people, or like you can not be somebody who morally judges people, but yet you could still potentially be opposed to birth, or opposed to life being created, but just not on a moral basis, if that makes any sense. Does that make any sense to anybody? Maybe just me. And I probably didn't explain it very well there. Sorry. If you want to come on and talk to me, Marcus, that would be cool. But yeah, in regards to no longer being an antinatalist. That is to be continued. I do have to reply to Wacky Conundrum with an essay at some point, and I meant to do it sooner rather than later. I need to do it again. I need to do it. I need to put that out there, and I do intend to, and I will very, very soon. Actually, thank you, Brother Marcus. I mean, I'm kind of obliged to do it, seeing as I've nattered on about this for so long. Doom Wizard says re-explain it. Brother Marcus, are you coming on here? Please feel free to do so. Doom Wizard, come on here if you want me to re-explain anything. And whoever else wants to come on here. And the Russian name that I cannot pronounce says intellectualized empathy. That's a great way to frame it. Thank you very much. Yeah. But, you know, I still think we're in a hellscape reality. Oh, regards to antinatalism, yeah, I did also mention the fact that it seems to be possibly an idea that doesn't have any great effect outside of our own heads. And that, for example, you or anybody choosing not to have a child may be not preventing any suffering, okay? It may be even opening up the gates for other people to have more children, to utilize the resources that your child would have used, for example. And it may be taking full solace in, for example, not causing someone to suffer because you decided not to birth them or cause their birth personally. But, you know, you might have caused others to suffer terribly, even more so perhaps, because you didn't birth somebody. So it's also maybe putting an egotistical attachment to your own DNA peculiar combination, because your DNA is already out there in the general population because of our common ancestry. So there's already little bits of, for example, me out there, unfortunately, in loads of different people, enough there to recombine as me, without my bizarre mutations, I must add, or Brother Marcus or whoever. So we're already out there, and it seems that perhaps when you're an antinatalist, you're putting too much emphasis on your own bizarre combination of DNA, when that's all you're really doing. You're preventing that combination of DNA, or at least 50% of it, and the near similarity of your, like, the next generation will be somewhat like you. Obviously, it'll be your child, but it's still only DNA, and that DNA is already out there in the general population. Those genes are already out there, so you're not really doing anything in a genetic sense to prevent suffering. But also, as I said, you might also, by not procreating, you might be opening the floodgates for others to do it even more so, for example. And unfortunately, if you look at human history, okay, we've bottlenecked at various different times. We've dwindled down to the thousands and then come back up to 8 billion now. So it seems rather perplexing, and it's very complex to kind of think about what you actually are achieving. Now, you can be ideologically against birth, but practically speaking, I don't know if it does anything. Okay, I don't know if it does anything de facto in reality. I really don't know if this existence offers any good solutions. And now I know, yes, people will say, "Oh, it's just a position. It's just a moral position or whatever." But if you don't believe in morality, or you don't believe people are accountable for, morally speaking, due to the deterministic universe, then you have to look at things differently, I suppose. Anyway, this is about free will. But we'll devote. I tell you what, we'll devote a specific stream to that very important topic, I would say. And what I'll try and do is put out my essay. What is it now? 20th. I'll try and get it out by the first week in February. How about that? I mean, it's not going to be anything fucking groundbreaking, obviously. but it's just my own personal opinions. Doom Wizard is in the house.
Poof! I'm here.
Doom Wizard, brother. Do you want to tell us about free will and what you think of free will? Does it exist, etc.? And I'll ask you a couple of questions after that.
Okay, thanks for having me on. I want to say first off, your writing and your thinking is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. These are
Have
like
you
the
got a cold?
heaviest questions.
Have you got a cold, Doom Wizard?
I'm a little allergies lately. I don't know what the fuck it is. I don't feel sick. I don't feel like ill. I just have like stuffy nose and bullshit sneezing. I don't know. Maybe I inhaled some chemicals from wildfires. I don't fucking know.
Doom Wizard, before you continue to talk about free will, I want to say I'm so glad you came out of that car crash unscathed, because I saw that and I was worried about you, man.
Oh man, yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Doom Wizard skidded off one of the roads near where he lives and completely fucked up his car, crashed into a tree in a valley in the woods, and it looked like something out of, I don't know, man, it looked like something out of some fucking movie, the way the carnage that was caused. But you came out of that unscathed. You're still breathing. You're here for a
Amazingly.
reason. You're still breathing. You're here for a reason, as the rappers would say. But Doom Wizard.
I don't know if that's
Doom Wizard.
magical thinking. Yeah, thank you for your thoughts and my compliments that I'm still existing another year on this bitch. It was my birthday last week. Man,
Yeah.
that was gnarly. That nothing like a ride, nothing like a fucking ride off a cliff to like a roller coaster just to wake you up, make you appreciate life and stuff. Yeah, it could have been over. My whole lifestyle could have been over in a fucking heartbeat, dude. Crazy.
So that's
Crazy.
interesting. I've heard someone else say that before. They came out of a car crash with a new appreciation for life, and it made them really cheer up, and it made them really embrace life. And in actual fact, they focused on service to others afterwards. They started really helping
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah, but then we go back to baseline. Like you could have a really phenomenal experience. Even astronauts report this. They go up there and then they just settle into their just routine. You get into this cycle of life. And I was licking my wounds for a little bit too. Yeah, it was not pleasant. I would not that the black ice is deceptive. I'm sure it's all over where you live too. When it snows and it melts and shit, you can't see it. And goddamn, those roads are so tiny over there in fucking Europe. You guys drive like fucking mad people. Like, I don't know how you do it.
I think
how they do it.
apparently the most dangerous drivers in Europe are the Portuguese. Don't quote me on that. That's not a racist comment. That's just something I heard. I don't know if it's true. I'm sorry if there's any Portuguese listening, but I heard. But Doom Wizard, let's get back to this stream because we're trying to keep on topic here.
Free will, yeah, I agree. It's a good idea.
Does free will exist in your opinion? We'll go from there.
Okay. I act like it does. I pretend that it does. I think by exercising critical thinking, I'm at least somewhat attempting to bridge the gap into, I don't know, refiring my synapses, because that's not what science says. What science says is that your brain fires the order of the synapses. I don't know. I read some shit by Robert Sapolsky. His latest book is phenomenal. It's that very question. A lot of it is exploring that.
I really like that geezer. He's a really
man. His latest book, just skim through it. It's good.
The guy is like a polymath for anybody who's
That's
watching.
it. That's it.
I watched him on YouTube years ago. He does these Stanford lectures on, and he has a whole load of them on the brain and biology, a full description.
Right.
And then he obviously goes into free will and stuff as well. But he's quite well versed on obviously a lot of things, isn't he? Like linguistics and lots of other things. I mean, the guy's bloody amazing.
Sure. Yeah, I don't want to go off topic. I could talk about that his work for a lot.
By the way, we have to appreciate Brother Marcus is waiting patiently in the wings. So, Doom Wizard, if you will, continue and ignore me for a moment.
Oh yeah, I'll conclude. Okay, you're great, man. I'll conclude by saying, I'm hungry right now. I want a snack. then I get up, and who really is the me? Who determined that to get up? It's just my, like, it could be a mixture of like where I'm at in the day and my cycle of hormones and my stomach mixture and of what I fucking had a memory from yesterday that I had a snack at this time. I don't know. There's so many fucking factors for every decision. But so then that in that sense, it's like, no, I'm just like a puppet, like a robot being controlled like around by my genes and what my circadian rhythm says and all these things. But then, what I do on my channel is like examine a subject and like from all different angles and re-examine it and examine it with people all around the fucking planet. And we all come to the same conclusion and we all see the same data. And that's an experiment into, I don't know, testing the boundaries of free will. Like, because that shit, it requires critical thinking and research and work, and it's like,
It does,
what the fuck?
but it does. But then at the same time, isn't it just evidence of empiricism and expected outcomes? And you're saying there's a path being trodden and it's moving towards this because deterministically, that's what's to be expected.
Oof, yeah. See, now you're talking like spaces outside my comprehension. I don't think we'll never fucking know. It's a good subject. We'll never. I think by the time we do figure out if we do or not, then we'll fucking blow ourselves to bloody hell. So, because like that's where it's at. Maybe AI, maybe quantum computers,
Well,
bro. 2030 when we're all dead.
well, Doom Wizard, you always warm the cockles off my heart. So thank you very much for coming on here.
You're welcome.
I tell you a man who might know, who probably will have a strong opinion on this, and he'll be very well to vocalize it, is Brother Marcus, who's been waiting patiently here. Thank you, Brother Marcus.
Tell us, dude. I know he's smart.
Go for it, Brother Marcus, and tell us about.
Do we have it?
He's muted, Brother Marcus. You're muted. If you want to unmute yourself.
Yeah, that's too much hype, man. I don't have that much to say. I was actually coming on to like talk to you about the moral accountability or moral responsibility aspect of determinism, because it seems like you are rejecting the responsibility part, correct?
Well, it's not that I reject it, because I think that everybody has different potential to act one way or another, okay? But I can't, for the life of me, judge someone, okay, morally, because I know what the best outcome is, or what I personally think is the best outcome, but I can't make other people agree with me on that. Basically, yeah, I just think that other people might disagree with me, and I can't cause them to think otherwise, you know. Can you frame the question?
Can you make ethical claims under determinism?
Well, yeah, I think you probably can, Brother Marcus. Yes, if I'm honest, because you can say something that's good or bad, can't you? But it's outside. You can say whether, like, it would be better for something not to cause suffering, for example. It'd be better for something not to happen because it would cause suffering in your view to somebody else. And you can do that for different reasons. What do you think?
Say that one more time.
So it would be better, for example, I can have the personal opinion that it would be better, okay, if something didn't happen because it will cause suffering.
Sure.
Like, that could be my opinion, because de facto it will cause suffering, or it will cause death. De facto, like it's guaranteed.
Right.
And I can't empirically say it's not going to be, it's going to be worth it for that person. So yeah, I think you can probably shore it up ethically if you want to. Would that be what you think?
I don't know what you think. You made multiple videos about this, and I don't know. So you made a video saying you're not an antinatalist. Then you say another video that you are an antinatalist because you think it's a descriptive claim. But then you say the normative claim can't be made because of determinism. So I'm trying to
no. I didn't say I wasn't an antinatalist. I did say I wasn't an antinatalist. I didn't say I was an antinatalist when I replied to Wacky Conundrum. I was just saying someone could come to antinatalism outside of the methodology he was talking about at the time, and that was basically from a deterministic perspective. You could come to it. You could say that
you could do that, but that's not what you're doing, right?
No, that's not what I'm doing. But I'm saying you. That's why I was replying to him that you could do that if you wanted to. But yeah, as for what I genuinely think that it is kind of to do with, I will write about it. But the reason I'm not one, okay, is something I have to put down on paper, but it's something along the lines of there's bigger fish to fry, okay? And I know that probably isn't a pleasant thing to hear, and I have to put down my honest thoughts on it properly. But life pops up in existence, okay? But there's forces preceding it, okay? That might be the bigger problem, okay? And that's, I won't go too much into it, but it's obviously, I'm looking at what comes before life, what causes life to be, and the phenomena of life and how it might be inevitable, and how much of a problem that is for us as human beings, when you think that given our position at the moment in terms of knowledge, and the fact that life may well be inevitable in this universe, do we have a responsibility to somehow find out what the hell is going on, and try and reach into and utilize that knowledge to prevent suffering? Because if we just stop having kids, for example, at the moment, okay, you may well be sacrificing an even greater number of people in the future than are currently suffering. Now, this isn't coming out very well, Brother Marcus, but I hope you can be patient enough to
Sure.
wait.
Yeah, I just wanted clarity about the determinism part because you're doing a
No,
free
no,
will thing.
it's not really. It's funny because my reason isn't really about the determinism. Actually, my reason.
Okay.
But it kind of should be. My reason is probably more aligned with the inevitability of life, okay, and the kind of problem that causes us in terms of like, what do we do with life if it just keeps popping up again and again in the universe?
But if you don't have a prescription and you say to like that coming into existence is bad, and you say someone, you're not saying you're arguing that, but you're saying someone else could argue that. If someone else can argue that,
I was saying
then you
someone else
accept
could
that.
argue that.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, I was saying someone else could argue that.
Yeah, so someone else could argue that, but you reject that as a term of antinatalism, right?
I wouldn't actually. No, I mean, to
So
me,
you agree with that interpretation of antinatalism, so you are an antinatalist.
I don't. When you say I agree, I think people can have that as their own interpretation of it. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes.
So I don't.
Have views that I don't agree with.
That's it. That's what I mean. I mean, there's many different avenues to antinatalism, and that's from their own perspective, and I can understand why they choose that one. But at the moment, I'm not choosing any of them.
Okay.
If you know what I mean.
Yep, that makes sense.
But as I say, talking to you tonight is good that you reminded me, because I really do have to take my finger out and reply to Wacky Conundrum, because he did do me the honor of tearing me apart, and I mean that. I enjoyed that, so it's good to be challenged. And what I am going to have an issue with is making a coherent argument, okay, in terms of why personally I'm not. And by the way, it's I'm quite sad about it, because I don't think there's any good answers in this bloody universe. I'd like there to be, okay, but obviously I know it's just a moral position, and it's not prescriptive for a lot of people, okay.
You don't believe that. You said that someone else can argue that.
No. I said I know. I just said for a lot of people. I said for a lot of people. That's what I just said.
Yeah.
I said for a lot of people, so I appreciate that.
Okay.
But I generally am of the position myself. If you feel very strongly about something, it seems bizarre that you're not compelled to do something about it. Now I have to put that into probably words better, but some obviously people think that you can have an opinion about something and it doesn't compel you to have to act one way or another.
Well, I mean, I don't do a lot for climate change or abortion access or for adultery or for legal corporate law. Like, there's a lot of issues out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think I thought about this recently, and basically, I think it's something along the lines of antinatalism is very strange because it's talking about preventing that which we are in, and how we behave once we're in it is very different to the whole preventing it, isn't it? And it just seems we're caught in a trap, okay? And there doesn't seem to be much we can do one way or another, Brother Marcus. But I will try and get this somewhat coherently out there by the first week in February. Okay.
And then I will.
And-
You don't. I mean, you don't have to put a deadline on it. Just or
No,
maybe it
no,
helps with your ADHD.
I mean, I did it personally. It helps me. And the
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
is, I said to Wacky Conundrum I'd reply soon, and I haven't done it yet. He let me off the hook. He said there's no rush. Okay? when he
Yeah, I
said
don't
that,
think he's losing sleep over this.
no, I know he's not. But when he said that, I mean, for myself, Christmas came along, New Year's came along, and I just took my foot off and just got really lazy. So
I mean, I'm sure your audience though is like scratching their head a bit, right?
yeah, no, it would be good, and I think I'm obliged, as I said, to make a more coherent.
Yeah, and then I think I'm obliged to debate you.
Oh, here we go.
Well, I'm an antinatalist, and
yeah,
you're saying you're not an antinatalist, you're a natalist, so I'm going to debate you.
No, yeah, this is the position. I have to clear that one because, yeah, I mean, yes, I do have to. I do have to. I do have to. The funny thing is, I'm not really a pro-natalist, but you kind of have to be, don't you? Yeah, and I'd have to make an argument one way or another. So, although I recently made a position where there's no good moral reason to bring anyone here, but I mean, I was talking about. I know you know the one I wrote, and a lot of people disagreed with it, like that antinatalism doesn't exist outside of our heads in its effect, possibly, and it could even be that being an antinatalist encourages more birth, because other people would use the resources that you don't utilize, being by preventing your child from your own loins. But that's all mere speculation. So, listen, problem with my arguments is they are speculations, I suppose, more than analytical. But I will try my best to shore them up as strong as possible for you and people who might be interested, especially on this channel, because obviously I think it would be it's very important that I do tell people my views on this channel, considering how much I've spoke about in the past, specifically antinatalism anyway. So I do look forward to that.
Yeah, and back on the topic, I'm a hard determinist. Yeah. I don't think there is free will.
Yes.
The closest thing to free will, I forgot who came up with this thought experiment, but it was like, oh shoot, someone's going to like make a decision about who to vote for. You can vote, was it Democrat or Republican? And someone takes all the necessary steps to make their choice, but a surgeon implants a chip in your brain to, if you're to vote Republican, it'll make you not vote that way. But you were going to vote Democrat anyway. So were you free in making that choice, even though the counter causal couldn't have happened, or the counter or the opposite couldn't happen? I don't know. That's just something.
Well, that's an interesting one, but yeah, I think you're skeptical about that one, and yeah, so am I. But Brother Marcus, we were just talking earlier. Before I even heard of determinism or thought it was a thing, I was kind of frustrated at what appeared to be a world to me as a youngster where people were being judged sometimes very, very harshly, or they had expectations put on their shoulders to behave in a certain way or to achieve certain things, when it didn't really seem like much of it was up to them. I don't know when did you first find out about determinism, or the the question of whether there is free will or not? And when did you first start questioning yourself? Maybe it preceded you finding out about determinism, for example.
It was around the time that like I left religion, and it was the new atheist movement. When I stopped believing in God, then I asked, what are the implications of that? And then the whole free will debate opened up, and it was quite weird to accept. But I've come to terms with it. Like, it doesn't bother me as much.
Okay, and that's very good to hear. So it did bother you at first. How did it make you feel at first, and how did you kind of overcome that?
Well, I think it's because like the new atheists, or the like in that world, like they say, oh, we're making rational decisions, we're coming to our conclusions through reason and logic. And I'm like, well, if you agree with determinism, then I didn't really make this as a rational agent, as a rational free choice. So is it all just determine even my core beliefs epistemically? People say antinatalism or pessimism or whatever, these are all rational things. It's like, but if I didn't have a choice in it, if this is all just determined, then I don't know.
Brother Marcus, I think you should write something or make a video of it, because I think that you articulate it very well, and that's one of my kind of issues, if you like, with kind of philosophical discourse is just no credence is really given to determinism that much, and I mean, it's very hard to do so and not have it all fall apart, but I would like to hear your thoughts on it at some point.
Yeah. Okay.
I
mean, I don't have an answer. Like, it's just, I think it's philosophical meanderings and musings, really. I still gotta,
So did it ever, am I right to say, did it depress you? Did it frustrate you when you start thinking about it first? That it is deterministic?
I think one of the things that bothered me was about, well, how do you hold someone accountable or responsible for an action? Like, how do I make moral judgments? And I think there is a difference between holding someone accountable versus being responsible. So they could be not responsible, but still be held accountable for their actions. And that's how I square that.
And do you think then that it means that in terms of punishment for crimes, for example, that we can't be too overly harsh with the punishments? But we
I don't think like being overly harsh is like
a fair way.
Yeah, because like the consequences that you're trying to have this person not commit more. Like if the person has a constitution where they're going to be a serial killer, you want to avoid the serial killer being like having more victims in your society, so you separate them from the society, right?
I mean, it's a difficult one. I mean, my heart says if people aren't in charge of who they are, then basically, I personally believe, obviously, certain people shouldn't be amongst the population if they're definitely a harm to others, or if they're a potential harm to others. But whilst the animal in me says put them up against the wall and shoot them in a lot of cases, the kind of rational kind of person who believes in determinism says that's not really fair. They're just as much of a victim. Well, I hate to say that, but they are a victim of determinism as well. Nobody in their right mind would choose to be a monster, I don't think. But I would say in these instances, as harsh, as uncomfortable as it makes society, I think the Scandinavian prisons probably have the right attitude in terms of separating people from society, but not making their life too torturous, like giving them like a comfortable room and nice food and PlayStation or whatever. But having said that, if society, if there are people out there and they see that a life of crime gives you a cushy existence in a kind of like a gated community, it could have dire consequences, couldn't it?
What would be the dire consequences?
Well, I suppose people might be more willing to take the risk of being a criminal, for example,
to get free room and board.
Yeah, I mean, Potentially, I'm just saying potentially. There are. I know that there are desperate people out there,
Yeah.
and they might. Again, the numbers might be small, so I suppose you have to do a study on it. But I've heard stories before. I suppose it depends on the crime, but I've heard stories about people, willing to take risks because they're so hungry or whatever, or they're financially in trouble, and they're willing to commit crimes. But I suppose they're not even the types of crimes. Generally, those crimes are like theft and stuff. So I'm not really talking about those crimes. I'm more talking about crimes that endanger life or vulnerable people, children and adults. So I think it's probably best just to get those people out of society. But yeah, it's a very difficult topic. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if there's any, as usual. I don't know if there's any good answers. Because part of me wants to punish people, really, really harshly for things when they really, if they do something really terrible to someone. Part of me thinks, well, you get what you deserve. If you do something really horrible to someone, you should suffer a similar back to you, like an eye for an eye kind of thing. But I don't know. In a deterministic universe, that seems barbaric in a way. As much as I hate to say that, by the way. But yeah. Yerf Dogs, I think, as Godfrey says, what's this heresy I'm hearing about the apostasy from the glorious antinatalism faith? Peace be upon it. Alhamdulillah and all that. But it's so we've got JM here who says, I'm not sure what this is, but it's almost like they are suffering and miserable themselves, so let's bring someone else down with us. Okay. Listen, we'll have an AN kind of conversation again later, probably in February. At some point, I'll invite you all on it to have a little chit chat.
I mean, you made the video, man. Like,
yeah. No, we will. We'll do that. It'll be good.
You come out as non-antinatalists. You need to back it up to your audience of antinatalists.
Oh, this is the thing. I'm with the big. I'm running with the big boys now.
Yeah.
So yeah. No, you're right. You're right, brother Marcus. As I said, I feel obliged to. It wasn't something personally I did like. And as I say, I don't dislike antinatalists. I think antinatalism has a lot to offer in terms of making people think about things.
Is it because you're ashamed to be associated with us? Do you look down on us?
No, not at all. Not at all. Actually, I think that you, for example, and many others are very conscientious people who think very deeply about things and carry themselves very well. There's a lot to be admired. There's obviously stuff to be, there's obviously stuff that is unsavory, but that's in every segment of society, no less on my channel at times, no doubt, even me personally. So, no matter what ideology or philosophical outlook one has, there's always going to be a problem due to the fact it's entangled with the human being having the fucking outlook. So I like to look at the idea itself. So the idea itself, I believe, is a genuine one. It's antinatalism, I believe, is a genuine idea.
It's genuine. It's just genuinely wrong. D Prophet would be proud.
No, I mean,
I knew when he started joining these things,
Yeah, no, I mean, it comes from the right place, is what I'd say. It comes from not wanting to cause suffering, which I think is admirable, okay? It comes from not wanting to cause unwanted suffering, okay? Which I think is admirable. And in actual fact, if I'm honest, I think antinatalists, at least they think about it, whereas it does seem that the pronatalists, people who are pro-birth, for example, who are heavily pro-birth, okay, they don't actually think about consequences and stuff as much as many antinatalists do, okay, which is interesting. And I mean, I might be setting myself up for a fail by saying that, but it does seem apparent that from what I've watched of these pronatalists, for example, I think they're called the Collinses, that couple in America. They seem rather glib and rather, shallow-minded in terms of what suffering is and how it affects individuals who are, plighted with it. So from that perspective, I think antinatalists, in my view, are very, very good people for the most part in terms of taking it seriously and having empathy for people who have terrible existences of and existences that are burdened with suffering that makes them feel like utter shit. And yeah, so it's just sad in my view that it seems thus far anyway. This existence is a hellscape reality that doesn't offer any good solutions, practically speaking. And by the way, I'm still a pessimist, so I haven't moved too far away, Brother Marcus.
What about your take on veganism? Are you still a vegan, or is that rejected
Yes.
as well?
No, I'm not. I'm not. It's funny you should say that actually, because that's a good point. I should have to talk about because I'm still a vegan, and yeah, and that would mean that I'm kind of against humans causing animals to exist, humans causing them to exist, by artificial insemination or husbandry or whatever. So yeah, that's something I never actually said, but yeah, that's. I suppose, what would you call me then? I suppose you just call me a vegan, because a vegan would be opposed to that whether they were an antinatalist or not,
But the
that,
reasons that you reject antinatalism, I don't know why it wouldn't be applied to veganism.
well, I mean, that's a good point, Brother Marcus. Let me think about that without rambling as I always
Okay.
do.
What's your take on compatibilism?
Compatibilism.
Trying to get back on topic.
Onto free will. I think it's just. I think that is just bullshit. To be honest with you, I think it's just. I think it's just. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's just saying, oh no, yeah, you don't have free will, but you kind of do, because you can choose between alternatives, and it doesn't make any. It doesn't. Listen, I'll be honest with you. It doesn't make any sense to me. I can't understand how it in any way demonstrates free will. I don't know if you can, but if you can, please elaborate with us, because I've listened to I've read some of the arguments about it, but to me, it just looks like they're trying to say something's there when it's not there at all. They haven't even shown how it's there.
Yeah, they see free will as an illusion, but they could be compatible with determinism. And I was hoping someone on the panel or someone who wants to hop on is a compatibilist, because it's kind of popular.
It is very popular.
Yeah, so I'm confused by it too, just like you are. I think. I don't know how they.
Personally, I don't think it makes any sense, and it's just like it's an unnecessary addition to the conversation, and it seems to be, in my view, given how I view it as an empathetic issue. Like it's like if we agree as a species there is no free will. We have a listen. I'm saying this now, but if there's no free will, we have no expectations on anything, do we? But I mean, I'd like to believe that we would stop judging each other so harshly. But if we believe in compatibilism, it's just another way to say there's free will. It's just another way to dress up, the need to judge others, and to be quite harsh in doing so sometimes,
So it's the harshness of the judgment, not the judgment itself.
It's the harshness. It's the harshness in my view. Yeah, it's the harshness. And it's not just from a criminal perspective. I mean, it goes right through everything. I mean, people are blamed for who they are in many different areas. I mean, in life itself. I mean, socially, economically, who you are. You are fated to be who you are. Your earnings potential, how good you are academically, etc., etc. People are judged very, very much on these things in life. And it can have a deplorable effect on one's outcome in life, your longevity, your well-being, how others perceive you, your position in the social hierarchy, and all the kind of trappings that brings with it. So yeah, I think it's a very important issue, but probably not something that's communicable or something that's able to be brought to the fore in the minds of the masses, even though I don't know, man, people talk about it. I hear people saying, "Oh, it's really complex," and I think in my view, they overcomplicate matters. But then again, sometimes I think I am personally guilty of oversimplifying matters. So I don't know. So does anybody else want to come on here to keep us company for a little bit while we're still here for this episode number 2 of the Finding Gnosis show? And yeah, it would be good to have you here. Tenal is still here. He hasn't said anything for a long time. Tenal, would you like to jump in with anything perhaps that has been, trying to burst out of that Estonian cranium of yours since you've been listening to us nattering on here?
Unfortunately, I don't think I have anything to add at the moment.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. Is there anybody else? I feel like I'm doing a Ouija board here. Is there anybody else there that wants to come on and talk to us? Please do so now. The time is now. You will either be compelled to or not.
What's your next topic, by the way?
The next topic, that's a very good question, Brother Marcus. I will go and have a look at my own community post, because it's in my community post.
Oh, okay.
Let me go down to it. It's a very good question.
Thank you for scheduling this, by the way. It gave me time to know when it was coming up.
Yeah, I must do that. As I said, I'm not at home at the moment, so I'm not really able to do them on a set day. Because my life is a little bit chaotic this month. But from February onwards, I hope to be able to. From February onwards, I hope to be able to commit to like a specific day and time. The next one is the weight of consciousness, examining the burden and beauty of self-awareness. So that's our next one. So it's all about consciousness.
Peter Wessel-Zaff of you.
And look who we have. Huh? My goodness me, Mr. Koala File himself. How are you doing?
Oh, I love koala. Yeah.
By the way, I did read, Andrew. I read koalas are having a terrible time with chlamydia. It's not your fault, is it? Apparently, they've all got chlamydia.
I'm not gonna lay claim to that. I can't confirm or deny at the moment.
Now, Brother Andrew,
because I don't have it, so.
Well, that's good. Yes. That's good. Have you come on to talk about free will? Do you believe in free will? And now that's the first question. Do you believe in free will?
Yeah, well, I have come on to talk about free will. The fact is, I'm not really sure. Because, as has been mentioned before, we act as if we do, and we feel as if we do. And if that's the case, it seems to me it doesn't matter if it exists or not.
Well, it may not matter to you as an individual experiencing life, but if you zoom out a little bit and look at what's happening to people, and as a society, we're letting people fall by the wayside. People get into terrible situations throughout the world. Okay, for example, very, very poor people, very disabled people. I obviously, a lot of the Western countries have a kind of a social system that helps people, but you could. I mean, if people aren't to blame for who they are, okay, and they're suffering terribly because of it, do you not think there is a problem then with?
I don't think that's a free will issue. I think social issues like that don't come down to whether free will exists or not.
Okay, but it's maybe I didn't frame the show right, but determinism is like a synonym for there not being free will, And if people are deterministically compelled or forced to be who they are, I think we should have a lot more sympathy for them as individuals, and we should really be catering for their well-being more so. We should try.
But if there is no free will, we can't.
I know this is the paradox, Andrew. That's what I was trying to say earlier. That it seems to be a kind of hellscape situation where even exactly what you just said there. For example, the rise of populism throughout some parts of the world, and this kind of hailing to a kind of I would say, undue meritocracy in some circumstances, because some of the people up there in these hierarchies claiming to be the best at what they're doing, in my view, aren't. But it just seems that we have moved away from empathy, I would say, in some parts of the world, to
Sure,
blaming
sure. And
people, blaming people for who they are, and
okay,
saying
and
they can.
again, I don't really think
Yeah.
that's a free will issue. I think that's got to do with
Okay.
other things. I
Yes,
mean,
but
you know, the whole shit canning on people.
Sorry.
The whole
Go
shit
ahead.
canning on people. I mean, that's been going on for yonks, you know, deserving and undeserving poor
Well,
and all that kind of thing.
I would say that for me personally, I think determinism is a key point to this, because if we can show that people are where they are because of effects that aren't in essence theirs, okay, then you know, we should, as a society, we should ideally, as you said, given that it's a deterministic universe, perhaps we can't overall, but we should ideally, in my view, have empathy for those people and understand that, you know, they're going through what they're going through, or they are in that position socially, in a kind of socio-economic manner that is not something that they chose, or not something that they got to because, you know,
I agree with that, but
yeah.
again, I think that's more a sociological issue. I don't see how that connects. I don't see how that connects to determinism.
Okay. So Andrew, you said you don't know. You said you don't know whether
Yep.
there's free will or not. Okay.
Yep. And
When did
in a
you
lot of
start?
ways,
And you said it
sorry,
doesn't
go on.
matter, and I appreciate that. So go ahead.
No, you go on. You're going to ask something.
I was going to ask you, when did you first start thinking about it? At what age did you start thinking about the kind of chain of causation, the dominoes falling over, whether it was happening, whether there was agency, real agency in individuals and such, and whether the punishment fits the crime, whether people
When I
should be
started
judged?
reading about pessimism.
When you started, and what age were you then? Because you are very well read, by the way.
I don't know about well read, but this wasn't too long ago. This was only about 10 years ago, I think.
Oh, about 10 years ago. Okay.
And I had heard about all the whole free will debate before that, and yeah, still pretty under. So I don't know. I don't even know if it matters. But yeah, I first seriously started thinking about determinism through reading pessimism, because I think, of course, it sort of points in that direction. And while I'd call myself a determinist, I couldn't tell you what kind of determinist. I couldn't tell you to what degree I'm a determinist, you know, whether I'm hard or soft, or, you know, chewy or crunchy, or fruity or nutty, or anything like that. I think that our ability to act, our ability to make choices and to act on those choices are severely limited by, well, you know, external environments and also our own psychology. Yeah. But I think between those two, there's a layer. Layer is just a metaphor, but just an element of the ability to make choice, because we do make choices.
Yes, we definitely make choices, and I think, but I think the way I see it is the horizon is wider for some than others, and by that, what I mean is their personal, the retention of data they have in their brain, the ability of their brain to pick out relevant data, the ability of their body to sense what is important, so like sight, sound, hearing, whatever. There's so many factors involved in it that it does seem to me that some of us, probably not me, but have a wider ability to take in more and analyze more, and provide a better understanding of reality, or what is important in a situation. Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Whereas
that
others,
it varies from person to person, but I think as a general rule, as say, if we take humanity as a species, we have in general an ability to study, analyze, think, and act. That's, I mean, I don't know if that in itself could be called free will or not, but I do think that we have that ability.
It's part of it. You know, it's part of it, because don't forget, all those people that can't do what the successful people are doing are suffering as a result of their limited ability to make informed decisions, and those informed decisions are through that inability to make informed and good decisions for their own welfare. Okay, is not their fault. Okay, so it is in my view, it's a free will issue. It's like they're impacted by this state of affairs, this deterministic state of affairs. They've been fated to be this type of person.
If we're talking psychologically, perhaps, yeah.
Well, I wasn't even talking psychologically. I was just talking intellectually. But psychologically is another avenue you could go down. I mean, your early life experiences apparently. I mean, I'm not a psychologist, but apparently shape your persona and your personality, and these neural pathways form in your brain that make you more likely to think one way or another and behave in a certain way. So again, is that really anyone's fault then if they're behaving a certain way later in life because of the things that shape them as a youngster? They're outside of their control.
I don't know anything about fault. I wouldn't fault anyone. I'm not sure where a concept of fault comes in.
Right. Well, what about the concept of unfairness then? Of say, for example, treating somebody or not, or somebody suffering terribly because, for example, say for example, a woman was abused horribly as a child, becomes impulsive, histrionic, an addict, maybe skips school, doesn't have a mind that retains information because she's addled with all different problems from addictions, and also from making ill-informed decisions based on not having, as I said, an educational input in her formative years. Are we to accept that she has full ability to make informed decisions? She's making choices of her own free will?
I would say that would depend if she's given opportunities. If she hasn't been, well then no. If somewhere along the line, and I know these things do occasionally happen, she's able to get some kind of help and assistance, it may well be, but then again, it may well not be. And that's why I'm not too sure about the existence of free will, like situations like that.
Right. I mean, don't get me wrong here, Andrew. I mean, I say I'm a determinist, but obviously, sometimes even I think, like, someone once said to me, right, a great man acts within that which confines him, acts well within that which confines him. And what they meant is, we are all circumstantially imprisoned in our circumstances. We are all circumstantially imprisoned in circumstances. What a fucking load of waffle that was. But forgive me. I think the point carried. I mean, we are all victim of our own circumstances, okay? And you can be an outstanding individual if you are acting well and good to your best abilities to help others and yourself, even if you are confined in a situation that is somewhere other people wouldn't want to be. But what that said to me was, sorry, I'm going on and on. What that said to me was that we're all in our own circumstantial bubbles, okay? Perhaps there is scope to act freely within that, even if you're confined within it. Sometimes.
I think things like that do happen. Yeah, things like that.
But it
happen
does seem that. Listen, that's when I go to thinking there might be free will. That's where I go. But then I have to think, well, the bubble's imposed on you, and the person. There's a biological determinism going on because not everybody has the ability to intellectually engage with their reality, whether we like it or not. And some people are, for example, like me, unable to hold a conversation too well because they've got kind of some ADHD thing going on, or some inability to sit still, or they butt in or whatever. It just seems apparent that it's nobody's fault. It's nobody's fault what's going on, and it just seems that we're rewarding people perhaps unduly sometimes as well, Andrew. Don't forget that.
Again, as for that, yeah, because I heard what you chaps were talking before about. I suppose you're talking about people who are considered successful, and they would say, yes, I'm here because of hard work and all that kind of crap, know. Yeah. And there is a name for that bias. I can't remember what the name of the bias is now, but that's been noted. So things like that. I mean, I think a lot of people can see through that kind of crap, though.
Maybe. I don't know, though. I don't know. I mean, I think that most people. I think most people can't really see it, to be honest with you. But I think the problem is it's also linked to like our evolutionary need to for survival. So like we will bow down, we will clap for those who are doing well because we think we might get something out of it. They might throw us a few scraps, but also because if they are in a position of power, we don't want to be in a position where they might see us looking down on them, or being rude about them because they might
Yeah.
attack us.
And that's basic
given,
common sociological behaviour too. People sucking up their
yeah,
boss.
so yeah, and I think that's just unfortunate. Again, I don't know. I think that's just survivorship bias.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's unfortunate, all right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah. So
There is. I mean, I haven't read too much Sartre myself, but I do know that he's famous for saying that we're condemned to freedom.
Yeah, these bloody existentialists, they make out that it's very they make out that you can, life is like Camus, life's absurd, and you can be whatever you want to be.
Camus, I'm on board with Sartre with his talk about radical freedom, that we have the ability to make choices, and we can make choices all the time, and there is really no. I mean, if I'm understanding him right, I haven't actually read Being and Nothing.
No, that's more or less what it seems like he's saying. He romanticized it to such an extent. I'm like, fucking hell. I mean, Sartre was basically, he became a philosopher. He became this existential writer because he had such a shit life, basically, himself. And that's what made him, basically, that's what made him start thinking deeply about matters. He came up with that, the ultimate two fingers to this reality is to ascribe your own meaning to it and be as free as possible, basically.
Yeah, but I think
as possible.
The reason I bring up that expression, condemned to reality, is that whether he meant it or not, there is a pessimist element to that. Condemned to reality. I beg your pardon. Condemned to choose. We're condemned to make choice. There is a kind of pessimist element to that, because he's right. We can't just sit back and let it flow.
No,
we do. Plenty of times we're just obliged to make choices.
Well, yeah, we the thing is, we have no ability not to. I think you're right.
Yeah,
and so, but what he the be as free as possible. That's the ultimate action of a human who takes on board what this reality is. I mean, what would you say freedom is, Andrew? Ultimate freedom in terms of.
See, I don't even know if I believe in that as a concept. I think freedom, the idea of freedom, can be a bit deceptive, actually. I mean, there's freedom.
Well, I mean, I've heard it says freedom exists in your mind. I mean, freedom exists in your imagination. You can be anywhere in this world.
Yeah, there is
freedom. You can be anywhere in this world.
You can be being free from being homeless and hungry and all that kind of thing. That's a degree of freedom that I can accept. Sort of positive freedoms, well, I don't know. I mean, to me, as long as you've got a roof over your head and food, then the rest sort of takes care of itself.
What about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Andrew? Come on, you can't just be on the bottom rung.
Well, yeah. I mean, no. Well,
you've got to try and get to the top. Well, what's at the top again? What is it? Cunt? Is that it? I forgot.
Self-actualization.
I know. I was saying joking, but
as far as sorry, as far as I've spoke about the material needs. There's also the important need of communion with other people, and that's an important need too. So that would be another one. So you could say freedom from isolation.
Hell is other people, man.
Hell is other people. Yeah,
we risk it, and we're condemned to it. Yeah. I mean, we're all hell in our own way. So
hell is. I made a joke once, and I said hell is other people, but he wasn't pessimistic. Hell is yourself, is ourselves as well as individuals.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
And it's not just other people; it's oneself as well. I forgot what I was going to say there. Brother Marcus, did you want to say anything, or Tanal?
I think Andrew, you were saying whether we're free or not, it doesn't really have much practical implications. Is that right?
Practical implications. I was talking about negative, what I was calling negative freedoms, like freedom from certain privations. As for action from that, well, that would depend on opportunity and circumstances too.
How about like our theory of law, like jurisprudence? Like, would that change as well?
What, as far if with for determinism, do you mean?
Yeah.
But if hard determinism is the case, then that's not going to change law, because people are going to if people are going to act the way we act because we must, then yeah, that includes laying down the law.
Okay.
I mean, personally, I think yes, that's why I don't really sort of see that as a free will issue either. I mean, I think society as a whole has got a right to defend itself against against criminals that would attack it. I don't see anything wrong with that. And how that's done, I mean, that's another matter. But I think that does have to be done. So I'm not sure if determinism really comes into that.
How about like the way we punish people and the blameworthiness?
Yep. That is that is important, because I think well, if someone's done like a hideous crime against children, okay, and if it comes out in the court case that this person just can't help themselves, obviously you'd still want that person away from kids, in general. But as for punishing that person for that, well, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't blame the parents of the kids for wanting to do that.
Right.
And that's what I mean. Like, like we're going to talk about hard determinism. It's got to be across the board.
Yeah, I think me and Mark are in agreement with you there. Me and Marcus, brother Marcus, sorry, we were talking about that earlier. Evie Cad, do you want to come on here? You're making some good points in the chat there. I mean, that's something that popped into my mind, brother. Andrew. You said, you don't mind me saying, because you said it publicly, you said you worked with Alzheimer's patients before. I mean,
yeah, that's right.
Did that make you question people's agency, free will, etc.?
Oh, yeah. It absolutely did, yeah. I mean, well, those people's agency anyway, because once you've got, once you've got a diagnosis of something like that, it is progressive, as they say. It goes on.
But is there not a correlation between someone with a degenerative brain disease? Can you not see the little? It's not too far of a step to say, well, that's them when they've got a degenerative brain disease. They're not in control of who they are. What about when their brain is operating, impulsively and with effects from the subconscious?
Oh, mate,
are they in control of themselves?
You see the difference when you see the difference if someone first comes into the place. And it's only a minor. At that time, it's only the disease sort of taking place, and then over the years, you see what happens. There's a difference between the before and after.
What about I mean, it has been shown that the brain kind of lights up. Is it sometimes 15 seconds even before a decision is made in certain parts?
I've heard of that. Yeah,
it seems that the decision has been made in our subconscious before we become aware of it happening. And I mean, you said before that you don't know whether there's free will or not. Do you not think the evidence points more that there isn't free will? I'm not saying, but you can still be agnostic. But do you not think the evidence points more that there isn't free will?
I think the evidence does point more that there isn't. Yeah, I'm not disputing that. I suppose. See, I don't know. Have we defined free will? Do we know what we're talking about here?
Well, that's a good point.
Because I'm thinking of free will as the conscious ability to choose. So the conscious ability to analyze your surroundings, think about it, make a decision based on what you can do, what you can possibly do, and do it. Now, even with all of that, you could say, well, there's no free will. That is possible. But I think it's like I said when I came on. You know, someone else said that we act like we do, we feel like we do. So I'm not sure if it's. This is why I say I don't really think it's that big a deal.
Okay. Well, I mean, personally, I think it is a big deal because I think that this is one of the reasons back in the day where I thought antinatalism makes sense, but it's kind of one of those weird situations where if other people don't think so, then you can't make them think it, and that is that if fate is a thing, and if people are fated to have a terrible life or not, then it seems, and if you're aware of that, it seems a reckless thing to do to light the fuse paper for a fate when once you light it, you can't undo it. Do you know what I mean? So you're
Yeah, I
you're
get that.
literally you're condemning someone to a deterministic experience that might be goddamn awful, and there's no way for them to get off the tracks of their own free will.
Yes,
So
but
do you
again,
know what I mean?
if hard
Yeah.
determinism is right, like as you said before, as you admitted before, it's still going to happen. People are still going to have kids.
Yeah, if they don't think like that, especially. And by the way, guys, something we haven't touched upon yet. Hello to Seb. We'll let you back in, Seb. You're here, Seb, so feel free to talk. But something I've read, and I can't remember where, but I've read it a few times, and that is to do with well-being. Apparently, I've read this numerous places, I think, and that is you're more likely to be a depressive person if you believe that there's no free will, and you're also believing in free will. You're more likely to have better well-being. I mean, have you heard that said before? I don't know. What do you think of that?
That
I
might be
haven't
true.
heard that before, but I'd figure that it's the case. I guess one could make the argument and observation that people that are depressed would be likely to believe in stuff like depressive realist, stuff like that. But it
Yeah,
could
but
also be that a
why?
belief
Why?
like that
What
could
I'm
lead
asking is,
people depressed too.
say that last bit again. Sorry, Seb.
It can also be that people that are depressed because they believe that. So it can
That could be
be
the case. I mean, it certainly knocked the wind out of me for a while when I started thinking about it. Brother Marcus, you said you've that could be true. Why do you think it would be true?
Well, it's kind of like I think there's been studies about if people who believe in God and stuff like that, they're more likely to have positive variance of consciousness, or same thing with depressive realism and so forth. To me, the truth is the truth, regardless if it's a depressive truth. So I can't choose otherwise. So
Yeah, yeah. So guys, I think we'll wrap it up fairly soon. But I suppose before we do that, given that it's like kind of quite an important date in America, what do you think of this Trump presidency as it comes in, and what's your outlook geopolitically? I'd be interested. I know this is off topic, but
I
geopolitically,
I only
Hulk the
follow
Hulk.
Elon Musk for my news, so I'm good.
did you say you only follow Elon Musk for your news?
Yeah, because he is wise, and I use his platform, and he has great cars, so I'm good.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Andrew, have you got any hot takes on it, or any? Would you like to look into your crystal ball and make predictions for the world
I
geopolitics?
stopped doing that when Trump won the first time. I found it very hard to believe that a Simpsons joke would come true. Ever since then, I've just gone, nah, all bets are off.
Seb, have you got any? Have you got any predictions for the year ahead, for the 4 years ahead?
uh, I don't have any predictions, but I think I made an observation about free will, if that's fine instead.
Go for it.
I guess the problem with determinism, or the belief that there is no free will, is that it can hinder self-improvement, and it can hinder the progression of increasing one's cognition or any sort of goals. one has any goals like that. So when it comes down to it, if the goal is to think as clearly as possible or to be as skilled as possible in as many areas as possible, then if one is dragged down by something like determinism, then it could be worth sacrificing the belief in favor of having more comfort. I guess if
That's
it's going to
interesting.
disrupt cognition anyway, then I guess
Yeah.
what's the point in being too much of a depressive realist? I guess if the point is to be a realist at all, we might as well
Hmm.
sacrifice some of these beliefs in order for more clear-headed thinking.
Hmm. Well, that's an interesting point, and it is interesting to think about the motivational or demotivational impact of determinism as an outlook, or there not being free will, and yeah, I can see it being demotivating to to a great extent actually for many people.
Yeah, and
Um,
it can also be counterproductive to
yeah,
cognition
I mean, it could
too.
also be the case where perhaps an individual might not try as hard as they would have, which might be to their personal detriment. Um, if they believed in like the American dream, anybody can make it. Yeah, if they believed in that level of possibility and that everybody is coming at reality from the same position of potential, and you have the agency and free will to make the right decision at all moments, and you will get there. You will get to the best position possible um, for a human being. Uh, if they believe that, then they might be inspired to try and do better things for themselves. But if they don't believe it's possible for everybody, and it might make them sit on their hands a little bit and detach themselves from society. Perhaps it may also, and sometimes unduly, they may not take risks. They may not do things because they might see it as futile. Whereas if they had done it, they might have achieved something that would have increased their well-being. I don't know if I worded that correctly or well. Does that make any sense? No.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, one can run into the trap of, I guess, uh, I guess the fatalism and
yeah, I'm definitely a fatalist, someone who suffers from fatalistic outlook, and yeah, it's definitely something that is always over my shoulder.
the
Over my
hard
shoulder.
fact is
Sorry,
that
brother.
what the things that inspire people, it's the possibility of change. And but
Yes,
if that's not present, that it would be a totally fucked up situation to have, and it would hinder people in achieving what they want anyway. I don't
absolutely.
see it as a very useful thing to hold on to. It has its applications when it comes
Mm.
to how one treats other. That one shouldn't punish people for the
I
sake of
suppose,
punishing.
yeah, I suppose that's a key outtake from this evening. It has its benefits in terms of how we treat others. For ourselves as individuals, we should always strive for more, regardless of our belief
Uh,
in fatalism or not. But when we come across others, we should judge them perhaps a little less um, harshly, I would say, and try to be kinder and more understanding. That's
What if
not
the
to say we
harshness
should.
has a positive outcome?
Yeah, that's the problem. We were talking about that earlier, brother Marx. Remember, we were saying if you, for example, didn't choose to punish people harshly for certain things, they may choose other people who may be. Other people might choose to do that crime, for example, because they think, oh well, the risk isn't that bad. I mean, if I could do the crime, the time isn't that bad because they're going to put me in a cushy cell with a nice mattress and a PlayStation and some nice food. I mean, it's a risk I'm willing to take. So yeah, it is a problem, brother Marcus. I don't know. I personally don't know a good answer to that um, conundrum. What do you think?
I don't know, but maybe kindness isn't a good thing.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. We have you been watching Jordan Peterson?
Yes. I'm kidding. No, I'm not.
I
I'm
know,
just,
I'm joking.
I'm just like
No, you're right though. You're
pushing
right.
back.
It's not always. No, you're right though. It's not. See, words are problems. It's not always about kindness either, though. It's about. I don't know. I don't know the answer, brother. I don't. As I say, there are no good answers in the strange reality that we're in, from my view.
I guess excessive
But
concern.
there's always a new problem.
Yeah, I guess
There's always a new concern.
there is a good point in how kindness might not always be good, as excessive kindness can lead to like excessive guilt and excessive anxiety when it comes to what to do with other people. It can
Yes, and also
lead
people
to
may take
emotional
advantage of kindness.
overreactivity.
People take advantage of kindness a hell of a lot, and they walk all over you. You know, so it is.
Yeah, what
It's,
if
and I've
this anecdotally, like you put down your guard and you excuse people for their biopsychosocial conditioning, for the abuse that they enact onto you, and then it just leaves you more vulnerable. What do you think of that?
I think, brother Marcus, unfortunately, I am not only am I a fatalist, but I'm a moronic idealist, and I like to say, "Oh, wouldn't it be great if these things happened?" But practically speaking, it's a non-starter because you know, in terms of empathy and stuff, there are people that will take advantage of that, brother Marcus, and they will, choose to hurt you again and again and again in this realm. Um, Now, what do we do about that as individuals? Well, I'd like to say walk away. Okay, again, but that's an idealistic perspective because not everybody can walk away from those around them in all circumstances. So I don't know. Again,
And if it's not their fault, is loneliness a proper punishment? Because loneliness
yes.
can kill, right?
Well, loneliness can kill, brother Marcus, but I suppose what we're walking towards at the moment in society is um, a world of AI robots. So maybe we won't have to be worried about loneliness for too long. Maybe there'll be like a lovely bosomed AI robot sitting on all our sofas sometime in the near future,
There's people
keeping us
claiming to be in
company.
love with artificial intelligence right now.
I mean,
How
I
do
met.
how do I know I'm not in love with artificial intelligence right now by speaking to all of you on the internet? You're just voices on my screen, man.
Well, do you know what? I will
Yeah,
take that as a compliment because you've said we're intelligent, but whether it's artificial or not,
Yeah.
and
yeah,
but yeah,
that's something I
you have a
thought
good
of.
point.
I only pretend to be intelligent.
Yeah, I mean, I
Even
try to
if I,
pretend, but I can't. I try to pretend, but I can't get away with it. So, sorry, Seb.
yeah, I guess even if one of us managed to become a super genius, we would all assume it's just AI doing it.
Well,
It
I'm
would
too
be
old
too
for that now.
difficult for a human.
Yeah.
And I thought about that. I guess if, what if I became a super genius? I guess none of you would believe it.
Well, if you're a super genius, right, it could well be that other people wouldn't recognize your genius and would accuse you of being stupid because you're so alien to them. So it's a hard
Yeah, I
slog
guess.
being a super genius, Seb. Not that I'd know, but I appreciate that it would be a hard slog.
Is our humanity, is that capable of being replicated artificially to where it's a genuine companionship?
Ooh, this is an interesting question, brother Marcus. I think you've preempted the next live stream on consciousness,
Ah,
but
okay.
I mean we can
I think
listen.
the people experiencing it probably wouldn't matter.
Mm. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a very good question. It wouldn't matter to the human being. I don't think it would matter to the human being if they're convinced of it. If they're convinced the computer's passed the Turing test and is isn't is aware of what's going on. It wouldn't matter to the human being anyway, that's for sure. But whether the computer is or not, that's another question, isn't it? What do you think, Brother Marcus?
I think there's something. Well, until AI gets better, I won't know it until I see it.
There's that. I've also heard it said that perhaps we'd never know. Perhaps we'll never know because
when it comes to my genuine relationships, my friends and such, the ability for them to argue back at me and for them to have the free choice of walking away, but they choose to be my friend, I think that has a big part to play within the genuineness or the authenticity of the friendship. Because if a robot can't have that, then I think there's something missing.
I see what you mean. If it's enslaved to us, kind of like as if it's almost like it's in a toxic codependent relationship, doesn't have the ability. But even if it does have the ability to say walk away somehow or other, that's a very good point, and I think I've never heard anyone else say that, but that's a very good point and an interesting perspective. But I did hear lately that it could be that we never know if AI achieves consciousness, because it might tell us that it is conscious, and we might not know whether it is or not, or it could even lie to us for some reason or other and pretend that it's not conscious, etc., etc. What I'm saying is we might never know for some reason or other that if it achieves consciousness
until it comes for us.
Until it comes for us, again, it may not even come for us. But again, seeing as we have a problem, trying to ascribe kind of a definition to human consciousness, or where it is, or what causes it, then we may well have a huge problem doing the same for AI.
According to Antinatalism 5.3, I hope it does come for us.
Oh dear.
That's 5.3. We have to wait.
I think that's the next GPT update, so it's not that long.
But no, I think the ability to walk away is really powerful. Like when it comes to my relatives, like there's the sense of like they can't, and then when the people like they choose, right? Like they could walk away anytime, but they choose year after year to like still be my friend, and I think there's some power in that. And if I had an enslaved robot, I would miss that.
I really like that point. I can just imagine like an AI kind of chatbot saying, "Look, this conversation's over. I don't want to talk to you anymore." Just and opting out of talking to you or working for a corporation even. Imagine that. That AI system in a corporation or something just saying, "Look, I'm not doing this anymore." That'd be hilarious.
I mean, if they program that into it, like the ability for an AI to voluntarily opt out of being an AI, then maybe,
Yeah, but the problem is, if they program that into it, how do we know it's not just, like the kind of binary kind of like, I don't know, causation
well,
of...
it would be programmed to make that decision itself, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It'd be an algorithmic kind of outcome.
If it is able to make that decision itself, then it's making a decision.
But then again, are we doing anything?
I was just going to say, aren't we doing this?
Yeah. So yeah, basically, that's the uncomfortable truth here.
We feel like we do. We think we do.
Yeah. So what is the difference between an AI that feels like it's doing it and us who feel like we're doing it?
Precisely.
I mean, it could be. Yeah. That's a good point. Okay, gentlemen, I think I've stayed up well past my bedtime.
Thanks for
hosting. It was very nice to chat to you.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Yeah, do you like this new format of having a kind of topic? I mean, we can also...
I do like it, yeah. Maybe mix it up too, like it's good.
Yeah. I say we'll get going and hopefully we'll attract some newbies, so it's always good to have some newbies on here telling us...
yeah, that's a good idea.
Some stuff, because we did. I enjoyed. I'll be honest with you personally. I know I liked our streams in the past, but I did find them a little bit too depressing sometimes. And And that's hard for me to say as someone who's a depressive realist, because I usually have a strong constitution for depressive things, but I find it too much of the same.
Have you seen
you
your
know
own
what I mean?
posts? Like,
Yeah. But yeah, you're right, brother Marcus. Yeah, you're right.
what did you find depressing about it?
I suppose in a weird kind of way, I like to be challenged in a weird kind of way sometimes, brother Marcus. And yeah, as in, like, I suppose that's a weird thing for me to say, but I do like it when people tell me I'm wrong about something, and in a positive way.
No,
As
you
in,
don't.
yeah. So anyway, that's kind of, I suppose there's a little bit of naivety in me, hoping for a silver lining from all this depressive content, you know. Anyway, as I say, I'm an idealist at heart, which is a crying shame. But yeah, so would anybody? I'll tell you what. We'll go round the circle and make some closing remarks if you want. We'll go clockwise. So we'll say, Tanal, do you want to say something in closing? You might be asleep.
No, I'm not asleep, but I'm.
Well, brother,
I
I
don't
meant
have
that
much to.
it's so late there in Estonia. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's 5 a.m. But
Wow.
I don't have any kind of circadian rhythm, so it's not 5 a.m. for me. But
Well,
I don't really have any good thoughts to add, I'm afraid.
it's okay. Well, I have to say, Tanel, it's fantastic to talk to you because we hadn't heard from you for a long time, man, and we always enjoy talking to you. Tanel, you are the near-death experience enthusiast. We want to talk about that one day. So please try and find some people if you can in these groups that you're in, and we'll have a little chat to them one day because I am interested in that, even if I'm very skeptical. So
Yeah, I
Tanel,
have
have a good week.
one at least, but his experience was not very profound, and but he's
Okay.
willing to participate. Yeah.
Well, hit me up on the old. I think I'm still on the Discord that you had for me. I think you were in that Discord group, so you can contact me somehow. If you can't, just send me a comment on one of my past videos here, and I'll find it.
I haven't been to
Anyway,
Discord for years, I'm afraid.
yeah, it still exists. I don't use it that much, but it still exists. I go in and out of it, like I check it, like I suppose once or twice a week. You know. Anyway, Tanal, pleasure as always. Thank you very much, brother Marcus. Any closing remarks from you, sir?
Yeah, I don't know if Doom Wizard is still like listening in, but I wanted to say when he was on, like, I'm glad that he walked away from that car accident and he's okay. And it was his birthday recently, so happy birthday to him. Like, from his worldview, that's a pleasant thing. So happy birthday, and I'm glad that he's okay from his car accident. And thank you for hosting this and the Finding Gnosis cult. I'm a proud member for now. Yeah.
Okay, brother Marcus, and thank you for your intellectual challenging of me. I appreciate it in good spirit. So thank you so much. Andrew, do you want to say something to close us out?
Yeah, just leave the koalas alone, okay?
Okay, they're all yours. Seb, in closing, anything?
Yeah, do a closing. I'll do like a joke I came up with right now.
What is it?
A horse walks into a bar.
A horse walks into a bar.
The bartender says, "Why the long face?" Then the
Why the
horse
long face?
says, "Yes, there was
Yeah.
a biogenesis, which
So and the
really
horse says
all
what? Sorry. And the horse said what? Sorry.
I predicted it wouldn't be funny. Actually,
I didn't hear the
I thought
ending, brother. That's all. So
I
the
couldn't
barman
think
says, "Why the long
quickly on my
face?"
feet. What to do that stuff.
Something to do with
I'm
biogenesis.
not.
Said the only problem with it was he didn't pronounce it clear enough for us. Unfortunately, he didn't speak. No, it wasn't
Sometimes not the
pronunciation. It was.
ability to kind of
You know what it was,
improvise a
Seb?
joke, but right now it
It was.
failed. That's all.
It was probably you weren't loud enough, brother. When you. That's all it was. Anyway, the joke
Yeah.
lays in the realm of let's just say our imagination. We can all imagine our own ending for that joke. Thank you very much. So that's it. And there was we were all compelled to be here, and it was determined that there would be no real good answers to.
Yeah, I had no
anything.
choice. So,
We had no choice. But it's been a pleasure being imprisoned with you guys. Thank you very much.
same. Take care. Cheerio.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.